Let's play a 10-minute game. Try to get a good quality game. E4. I feel like playing C5. Sicilian. B3 was played. And we can proceed with knight c6. Bishop a3. This is easily met by d6, defending the pawn, preparing to develop its bishop. Actually, instead of knight c6, I had a little idea to play g6, which is another line. But I suppose that can be discussed in post-game analysis instead of now. I think actually g6 is a very good line. That was covered in one of the sidelines in Camille Plichta's chessbook course. We can talk about that after. Right now we're just developing normally knight f6. Queen e2. And I suspect that white is aiming for e5. But is this dangerous? And do I need to prevent it is the question. e5. If I go g6, e5 happens. I can do this interesting move. Knight takes e5, and then if bishop takes, I can take with the knight, so I win a pawn there. g6, e5 takes. If takes, then if takes, queen takes b5 check, and I have to block. I don't think that's terrible for me, but I don't necessarily need to allow it either. So I can consider g6. And just make sure I've got everything correct. g6, e5. Knight takes e5. Knight takes e5. D takes e5. Actually a little bit complicated, I must say. I don't know if I want to play this weakening move, e5, but it is also an option. I'll go with it. I want to see what happens if I play this. But it's not good because white can go c3, d4. So we'll probably see that a little bit later. White is going to go c3, d4, destroying my pawn flank, if they find that. But if they don't, I get this nice bind. I can also go knight to d4 here, trading off pieces. Should I play this move? Bishop to g4. Move intends knight d4. So perhaps bishop takes is a good option. This h3 already a critical mistake, allowing knight d4, attacking the queen and attacking the knight. And now white is really in trouble. And because also this bishop is hanging also. So start by taking, pawn's going to take back, and then we're going to take that bishop that's hanging, and we're going to win the game. Tricky, tricky. That's essentially the end of the game. We can head back here and go knight f4, start attacking the king. Or we can start with queen d7, go knight c7, knight e6, knight f4. Probably even a more robust path. d4 is not a serious move, I just take it. Still the plan I was talking about. Goal is to checkmate. Goal is to checkmate white immediately. Knight f4, queen d7. Let's see what this has to do with anything. Still want to go that plan. King h2. Then I go queen d7, going along with the plan. And that's going to be the end of the game. And that's checkmate. Good game to my opponent. And I want to talk about this b3 move. This is an anti-Sicilian. And g6 is the recommendation given in chessboard course that I was studying. Accelerated Dragon by FM Camille Plickta. And after bishop e2, knight f6, e5, knight d5, this is almost like an Alekhine defense, but a weird one. And it's counterintuitive because you would think in this position white wants to go here, so why would I put my rook in danger? It makes no sense. And a lot of people play like e5 and they just play e6 trying to attack this rook. But you can just go f6 and it turns out black is fine here. This is theory. And after knight f6, a lot of people also go queen f3, but trying to then go e5 and e6. This time with checkmate because the queen is attacking f7, but in this case you can simply go d6. After bishop e5, knight bd7, bishop takes, e takes. Black can just fianchetto their bishop and castle with great chances, really. And you can study this position, it's fine for black. Example, a6, takes, takes, and say you go knight c3. There are moves like f5. Idea is a bishop here. After knight f3, for example, bishop g7. If you castle long, as for example, castle short, and you get a very interesting game. But I chose to play knight c6, which is a more normal move. After bishop e2, you can still play like d6, knight f6. I'm curious what the main line is, so I'm going to follow it for a second. d7, f4. knight f6, going e6. This is really not dangerous for black. In this line, black just keeps a small and solid center. b5, castles. I assume white would like to attack us. They might go like queen f2, but we can break in the center, and white might keep tension, because if they play here, our knight can go here and feast on this weakened square. And okay, or you don't have to go there because the threat is stronger than the execution, forcing white to play this to stop it getting a lot of play as a consequence on the other side of the board. Takes rook a2. Black has enough counterplay here to justify white having a little bit more space here. Queen d7, d4. For example, you could play c4. Then you go b4. You have some kind of initiative going here. Knight e3, f5, takes, takes, takes. If they take, you have this winning material. So black is creating just enough threats to stay in the game. Black is much better here. And just becomes an interesting game, of course. Beware of this attack, very dangerous. So that's the main line, but my opponent threw all that out the window but bishop a3. Obviously the bishop doesn't stand as good here as it does on b2. So d6, bishop b5, I go bishop d7. And now my opponent plays queen e2. And I go into quite a think here, because if I go g6, I was a little bit scared of e5. Because here, maybe white's idea was to take this pawn. Or just castle even. Then go e4. And it gets complicated, and I wasn't sure what to make of this. Maybe it was white's deep opening prep. Bishop takes c5. In any case, I wasn't sure what to make of it. So I played e5 instead, just locking down the center and making sure there's no e5. So I create a very strong bind on the square d4. So maybe my knight can use that in the future. Let me examine what happens if g6, e5 is played. D takes e5. And one thing I was scared of is if bishop takes, knight takes e5. Actually, I could have bishop takes g2. And now the bishop can go here and defend against this. Knight d7 with the bishop guarding this. And if rook goes here, bishop goes here. Quite deep, and I thought that was quite deep, and it's hard to calculate that. And I was scared there might be some of white's homemade prep with this move bishop a3, so I was a little bit scared of that. This is really fine for black, after all. And I was also scared about the move, maybe bishop takes c5. And maybe white has a lot of pressure on me. But I don't think that's really the case. Say the castle, if I get e4, white is kind of going to have to deal with this pawn in the middle. Black should be fine, just castles. knight d4. I can even just castle in worst case scenario. So really black is fine here. Anyways, I play e5, which is not a bad move. Except for the fact that what I thought was that white has this nasty idea to go c3, d4. For example, c3, I castle and then rook d1, intending d4. And if this file gets opened, the weakness of the d6 pawn will become apparent, and also this bishop will have trouble getting into the game. So a dangerous position, potentially. For example, if I go a6, then after swap and d4, let's just say I take like this, and takes, have a weakness to deal with. But my bishop being here attacks this pawn, which gives me enough counterplay. Black is actually better here. So this idea of c3 and d4, perhaps not as dangerous as I thought. Interesting. Instead, rook e1 was played, which I thought was very strange. I castle d3, I go bishop g4. Here, the only move is bishop takes c6, because otherwise a bishop isn't really doing anything, and the knight is threatening to go here to d4 because there's a huge pin on the f3 knight here, so a timely move with bishop takes c6. But h3 is going to be a long game ahead. For example, bishop d7, and there's different ways this could be played. A cool move is b4. Now this bishop gets kind of active, and it's an equal game, but chances of both sides. h3 is a huge mistake. This one lost the game instantly, because now my knight goes in here, and white is losing a piece. So takes, now I take this, and after d4, it's another move that doesn't make any sense. c3, knight e6. White's kingside is weakened. I have a simple plan to attack white, as seen in the game. b4, a move that doesn't address the needs of the position. Knight f4, king h2. That move also leads to demise. Queen d7, and there's really no way to defend. Let's say you do a random move. Then there's queen takes, and king here, and queen g2. Power of this knight, it always holds these squares. And this illustrates how a weakened pawn structure on the king side can lead to devastating attack being built against the king. And not only is back in this position after h3, after knight d4, not only is white losing the bishop, but their kingside pawn structure is also shattered, so it's more than just the piece that's being lost. It's also the integrity of pawns here, and that led to a quick demise. Queen d7, queen c8 would have also been equivalent. Any move to put the queen on this diagonal is sufficient to deliver that queen and knight checkmate. That was a fun game, and I hope you enjoyed this relatively lengthy analysis. And once again, I hope that the Sicilian will serve you well. If you learn it, you'll be able to win a lot of games with it as black against 1e4. Thanks for watching.